Welcome to Campfire Conspiracies, where the fire is warm but the stories send a chill down your spine.
Wait, did you hear that? We're back. It has been a month, but we're back on track for season 2. I'm Summer.
And I'm Sam. And we're a podcast that talks about all things creepy, cryptic, and conspiracy related.
Yes, we talk about the paranormal, the macabre, and the mysterious, and we do it in a way that makes it a competition for the both of us, as well as the listener.
That's right. Each episode of each season, we take turns talking about 2 different stories of that episode's topic, and we leave it up to you, the listener, to decide who wins each round.
The loser, at the end of 6 rounds, so 6 episodes, has to do whatever predetermined punishment we set at the start of the season. Last season, Sam won, so I had to dye my hair a horrible mixture of purple and blue. It didn't go well.
This season, the loser will have to get a piercing wherever the winner tells them to. But that's not even the best part. One of us isn't the only one that will win. For every episode you vote on, you automatically get your name added into a prize draw to win a free shirt of your choice designed by yours truly that is related to one of the topics we've talked about in this season.
The more episodes you listen to, the more times you vote, the more chances you get to have your name pulled out of the hat. Just remember you're limited to 1 vote per episode, so please make your vote count.
Today, we are talking about
Cult stuff.
Cult stuff. But before we get into today's stories, let's talk about some news that's been making its way around the campfire. Australian dodder plants, or Cuscata australis.
Oh, so glad I didn't have to pronounce that.
Yep. Is a parasitic plant that eavesdrops on its host to know when it's time to flower. It absorbs the chemical that triggers flowering from its hosts and uses it to flower synchronously.
Synchronicity?
Synchronously.
I don't know. I don't freaking... What?
Words.
Words are hard.
The synchronization maximizes the dodder's growth and reproduction and could be a reason why the parasitic plant has spread worldwide.
Oh, shit.
Yep. There's over 100 species.
Some more great news from Melbourne.
Yep.
The place to be right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Some people in Melbourne have reported having unwanted guests during their lockdown. While isolating at home, reports of paranormal sightings have risen according to paranormal investigators, who have had numerous inquiries about those in isolation reporting strange and unexplained activities in their homes. Some of those in isolation have started to wonder if they're sharing their homes with unwanted supernatural forces, or they're paranoid because they're at home.
Or maybe
in a pandemic.
There's just possums in the roof.
Oh, good old possums.
Right?
That's what Australian ghosts are, good old possums.
Continuing with the Australian theme.
Damn straight.
Australian man and former Australian Army Lieutenant Ricardo Bossi, I think I'm pronouncing that right, has made it clear he doesn't trust many people. He is starting his own political party, Australia One, because he doesn't trust many people at all. He does have a firm faith in his belief that the Australian government has overreacted to the COVID-19 pandemic, that the masks don't stop the spread of the coronavirus, vaccines are ineffective, and the 5G mobile network is a surveillance tool of the Chinese government. I'm one for a good conspiracy, but that's just bollocks.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of a meme that's kind of making the rounds on social media, which says, "Just wait until conspiracy theorists discover they're part of a conspiracy to use conspiracy theorists to spread disinformation via conspiracy theories." And that's what this year's been about. Like,
it's just one
that
conspiracy.
Spectrum, that end of the spectrum for conspiracy theorists is the frickin' idiots.
It's been great for introverts, but not so great for conspiracy theorists because they don't know what conspiracy to latch onto.
Mm. Yeah, and I think there's also even more than before. There's this idea of good, hip, cool conspiracies, and those that are just dull and really not entertaining or anything. So if you're not like 5Ging it up, if Bill Gates isn't involved with your conspiracy, then no one wants to listen anymore.
Right. I think my favorite conspiracy of the year so far, though, I actually found on TikTok of all places. So the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right?
Tell them.
So, for those who don't know, I mean, you should. It was major news last year. The Notre Dame Cathedral caught fire, was burnt down almost. I think it was just the roof or something, but like a lot of it, a large portion was damaged.
Yeah, a large portion, yeah.
A part of the roof that was damaged held a spire that was put up 800 years ago because it was believed to stop plagues from being around the area.
Yeah.
Or just, being around.
Superstition.
Yeah. And that spire perished in the fires.
Crumbled with the fires.
And not even a year later, look what happened.
Dun, dun, dun.
COVID-19. So
that's a fun one. I don't think anyone really believes that. It's just
I think it's just a fun one. And it's all,
Yeah.
I mean, you need fun conspiracies
Hell
like
yeah.
that this year, because otherwise, I mean, those people in Melbourne stuck inside,
Oh, yeah, they need some fun.
they need some fun.
And not just ghost sightings.
No. You need a wide variety of fun.
Exactly. And I could definitely use some fun. So we have been obviously off the air
Yeah.
for like a good month now. That's kind of beyond me. Our lives have been a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
It's been really hard to find time to record. So yeah, but here we are back in front of the fire and we are ready to tell some tales. And we just want to apologize that we have been off the air. I just kind of needed that time.
And one thing we did notice while we were off the air is we've noticed that in our absence, like, so many people have listened. And we didn't expect that.
Yeah, that makes me feel guilty as fuck. But yeah, no, so
guilty,
appreciative. Yeah. And social media, our Twitter has been growing, which has been really beautiful to see.
Yeah, so while we've been absent vocally, media presence has been pretty good. We've kept up with that. We've tried to be
Still be giving you your fun facts
and
your dark quotes.
Your quotes and your random little tidbits here and there.
And on Twitter, I'm still trying to do a few more articles.
Twitter's a whole new ball game. It's such a weird thing to navigate. Like,
it's kind of both spectrums of social media, of the really dark, disgusting part of humanity and the helpful community part. So I am just constantly emotionally, I'm in constant turmoil on Twitter.
Yeah. And I'm not helping. Social media is not really my thing. I'm the voice and the editor. So
right.
and the graphic designer. But let's get on to today's topic, shall we? Cults.
So I'm going first with the Australian cult, the family.
The family.
A mother's unconditional love is one of life's miracles, a miracle some live without. For the children within one of Australia's most infamous cults, the family, their mother only professed love to the cameras but did not show it. Their aunts didn't spoil them with love and treats, but threats and abuse. Evelyn Edwards was born in Sale, Victoria, on New Year's Eve 1921, the eldest of 7 children. Sent to an orphanage as a child, as her father was on the run from debt and her mother was in mental institutions for paranoid schizophrenia.
Wow.
Yeah. It's theorized she spent her teenage years mothering her younger siblings as her parents were still largely absent from their lives. She left as soon as she could and reinvented herself as Anne Hamilton. At 20, she married her first husband, Lionel Harris, who would join the army, go AWOL, be found with Anne back in Victoria, imprisoned, then become a used car salesman. Lionel would die in a car crash, wanting to adopt a son with Anne. He left behind Anne and their only child, Judith.
That's gotta suck to be a used car salesman
And die in a car crash.
I hope it wasn't one of his used cars, because...
I will say there are 2 car crashes in this story, and the more paranoid part of me wants to connect them. Anne would start teaching yoga and reinvent herself yet again, claiming to her students that she was taught by a Tibetan guru and trained as a nurse and physiotherapist. Her second marriage to Michael Riley would only last a year, but would bring her in the path of Michael's employer, Dr. Rayner Johnson, in 1961. He would be the first initiate into the Great White Brotherhood, or it is more commonly referred to as the family.
The Great White Brotherhood.
The Great White Brotherhood.
They were just like, oh, don't want to be racist, so we're just going to call it the family.
See, I thought shark, and I thought, why would, it was like a masculine, I'm a great white. I'm in the Brotherhood of Great White Sharks. But I don't actually know. I didn't look into it because I thought that was a boring name, and I don't like researching boring things.
It does actually sound sort of like a mob.
Yeah.
Like a mafia kind of thing.
Definitely.
The Brotherhood. And then to be called the family as well. Like,
the family.
Yeah.
Dr. Johnson
Not Johnson & Johnson.
No. Dr. Johnson published works on mysticism in the 50s and 60s. Anne's daughter, Judith, sustained a compound fracture to the base of her skull after being in a car crash. Anne organized prayer over her, and miraculously, she left the hospital a week later. Upon seeing this miracle, he would be devoted to her, as she a Christ-like figure to him.
What is it with cults and being, like, Jesus-y?
Oh, yes. So, for her followers, she was Jesus. She was the second coming. Yep. There's actually, I will admit this up front before I even go into, like, the cult side of things. If this was, like, cult bingo, yeah, you'd easily be ticking off a whole bunch of stuff.
You'd get the 5 and you'd win the used car.
Exactly. Her charm and miracle work would grow her cult. If this wasn't a podcast, there would be a lot of little bunny quotes.
Oh, yeah.
Her teachings would be a mixture of yogic and Christ's teachings. She promised to break the chain of karmic reincarnations with cleansings in this life. These cleansings were performed by administering legal LSD from medical professionals under her influence.
Wow.
Yep. This would make it easier for cult members to be completely under her control, even calling her master. I'm telling you, it's taken off all the cult stuff.
Every single one. Yep. And as you're talking about it, I'm just like, wow, that's mine. That's mine. That's mine. That's mine.
They all look alike. These members were often people of influence, chosen for the power they could give her. Sons of politicians, medical staff, and lawyers, all under her charismatic, drug-induced influence. She hosted meetings to discuss her religious and philosophical teachings at the Johnsons' home in Ferny Creek, outside of Melbourne. Later, the members would purchase a neighbouring property and construct their meeting hall called Santinakitten Lodge. They would then also be known as the Santinakitten Park Association. Among these members was Bill Bryan, a wealthy member of the local council, married with 4 children. He became enamored and twisted by her and would send his wife, May, to a mental ward in New Haven, run by her followers.
Wow.
May would have been administered with LSD and other drugs, deprived of food, and kept in darkened rooms. Over the years, his own kids would be estranged. There was no room for anything but Anne till his dying days.
Jesus.
Anne wanted to grow her family. Guided by an LSD-influenced vision, she decided her mission was to adopt dozens of children and save them from an upcoming apocalypse. Tick.
Nothing says motherly figure like an LSD-induced.
Right?
An LSD high.
Mother of the year.
Yeah.
She would acquire these children from adoption from single mothers at New Haven. Remember, this was the 60s, free love and all, so there were plenty of single mothers.
No, in that case, so LSD's, one of the requirements for adopting children. You must be high as a fucking kite.
Also from cult members or found by cult members.
Oh. Found. So kidnapped.
Found as in someone who would be willing, for whatever reason, to give up their child.
Right, okay.
28 is the possible total, with 14 being adopted by the couple. I would say legally, but it was forged documents by her influential cult members.
Yeah. So she would have had, someone in in pretty much every sort of government office or whatever,
exactly.
a taxation person.
Anything she needed. Yeah. But all would believe their biological mother was Anne.
Wow.
The children would grow up in an environment where any slight infraction, any sign of wavering obedience would be severely punished, including countless lines, cold showers, deprivation of food, sometimes for days at a time, beaten with plastic canes, wooden rulers, and belt buckles, fingers held over a flame, being held down in buckets of water close to drowning before being brought up again. They had no access to life outside of this hell. Life was completely controlled by Anne. The cult motto for these children was unseen, unheard, unknown. They, like the cult members, would be administered LSD, Valium, and other drugs for their own cleansing sessions. Most of this would be done by the female cult members called aunties. Anne ruled largely from afar, as she would be living her lavish lifestyle, funded by her members in properties around the world.
Wait, so she would be going overseas and stuff?
Yeah.
Without the kids, obviously.
Without the kids.
You can't take 28 kids. Jeez.
And if any of her cult members needed to maybe hide away, including, I believe, to have a child, then they would live comfortably in one of her estates elsewhere.
Huh.
Including New York and England.
So her cult members, if they were to have children, would they then become her children, or would they?
High chance.
Jeez. Well, sister's twisted.
Mm-hmm. And this spanned, I think, 2 decades. 21 years, I think.
Wow.
To create an idyllic view of this hell, she would dress them in matching clothes, bleach their hair blonde like hers, and order them to dance and play for the camera. Their names changed, including her own daughter, Judith, now to Natasha. Thankfully, this didn't fool everyone, and the police became concerned about what was happening in what the cult called K Lama on the shores of Lake Eldon, where the children mostly were kept. One of the children raised here was expelled as a teenager for being rebellious. How dare a teenager do that? Her name was Sarah, and due to her help, federal and local police raided K Lama in 1987.
Cool.
As these children were taught that police were bad and would kill them, the children were unbelievably scared and hid away from the police. To them, their life was normal, and the rescuers were evil.
Yeah. It's called brainwashing.
Yeah, definite. How could you not be with that life?
Right.
But as a result of this raid, 6 children were taken from Anne and put into protective custody, including Sarah.
Only 6?
Yeah, I know, right? Anne had fled overseas as her husband stayed for a while in Melbourne. She would often flee when she felt threatened. Operation Forest was created to uncover the criminal activity they believed was happening, which might bring justice to these children. Some aunties faced criminal charges and were convicted of obtaining money fraudulently from Social Security. Peter Kibley, the cult solicitor, would confess to forging birth certificates in 1990.
Jeez.
And former auntie by the name of Patricia McFarlane would provide information on the adoption scams.
Wow.
And most bravely, some of those children shared what their childhoods were genuinely like to police, just like Sarah. With this information flowing in, it isn't any surprise that Detective Lex DeMann, in charge of Operation Forest, would describe Anne as one of Australia's most evil criminals. Anne and her husband were on the run for 6 years before the Australian, UK, and US governments worked together to track them down to upstate New York and was extradited back to Australia. Pine Cap. Painfully, they were only charged with conspiracy to defraud and to commit perjury by falsely registering the births of 3 unrelated children as their triplets. The sentence was dropped. Anne pled guilty to the charge of making a false declaration and fined only $5,000 in 1993.
That's chump change when you've got a whole squadron of crazies on your head.
Imagine the long-term effects of daily drugging, mental and physical abuse in complete isolation from the world. And the only price your perpetrator received was a fine of $5,000.
Yeah, no, that's fucked up.
Would you be able to believe that there was any justice left in the world? However, in 2009, 2 survivors of the cult's abuse received compensation. Coincidentally, soon after, Anne was diagnosed with dementia and couldn't face any other legal challenges. Though...
Was it a false diagnosis by one of the...
Yeah, right? Though, to be fair, interviews with survivors who visited her to gain closure said she appeared to be truly experiencing dementia.
Yeah.
Sarah wrote about her time in the cult and penned the book Unseen, Unheard, and Unknown. She would die before Anne. Several other survivors of the cult spoke at her Buddhist-themed funeral of her life and her too early death.
Do you know how old she was? No?
I mean, I think I did, but I didn't.
It's probably in her book. I just have to get it.
Uninvited, a cult member, still devoted to Anne, Michael Stevenson Helmer, attended. This man seemed to only speak with venom and is often seen in later interviews with Anne, her influence still extending still. The award-winning movie, The Family, looks to the cult's evil doing and shows that influence she could have. But even with this, in 2017, the then 98-year-old Anne was moved to palliative care. Her disturbed spirituality did not prevent her death, as she thought. She died in her nursing home on June 14th, 2019.
Nice.
Yeah, good.
Finally.
Yeah.
Took you long enough.
I think for some of the survivors that was like, I can't get justice, but at least she's not
hurting anyone
around
anymore.
Anymore. Because up till her death, she believed herself innocent.
Yeah.
She just loved children.
Yeah.
And Michael, if you watch any interviews with her in later life, you'll see Michael.
Yeah, of course.
Ugh. Her protector. So a few other tidbits.
Okay.
Julian Assange has been connected to the family by his mother, who was for a time involved with cult member Leif Meynell. But this was only for a time, as Julian has been known to have rather a nomadic childhood. Martin Bryant was never connected to the cult, but conspiracies fly without proof that because of their torture, they created a mass murderer.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Though, even with that, for me, the thought remains, this cult was made up of influential, powerful people. What came to light is the torture inflicted upon these children, and they should be able to get justice. But is there anything else to uncover?
Probably. I mean, with any cult, I reckon there will be. So
yeah, I just feel like, and especially like she had a cult before the children. as much as the children were a big part of her teachings, to save them, prepare them for this apocalyptic event. And she described that in a few different things like World War III or bombings. It was just generally an apocalyptic event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder, especially as if she truly believed that, what else was she doing to prepare, know? I feel like that there is a chance there's more to uncover with the family.
Yeah, definitely. It's just probably won't, unless the others speak out, you won't get anywhere with it.
Well, someone I would like to talk to, she had 6 siblings.
Biological or by paper?
No, remember at the start. So she had 6 siblings by...
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And I just wonder, because they went through that torturous upbringing too, and I'm sure they feel maybe even betrayed, abandoned by their eldest sibling as she left. She felt she had to escape. Yeah, I wonder what happened to them and how they feel about her, especially the way she could influence people with her charm.
Yeah. Who knows?
But it's definitely one where a lot of the way she was able to do this influencing will just have, died with her, and we're not going to uncover it. So, that's the family.
It's not one I want to be a part of, that's for sure.
Definitely not.
No, thank you. Cool. I decided to do a more well-known...
I think in Australia, the family's pretty well known on.
Okay. I didn't know who they were, but I did grow
British.
Up outside of... I'm not British. I just grew up outside of Australia.
Where?
In England.
There we are.
Doesn't make me British. I grew up outside of Australia. I am an Australian by blood, in passport, in legal documentation. That's all that matters. Stop. Fake yawn. Anyway, my topic is on an American cult.
That's where the Queasies be at.
That's where...
I mean, no,
especially Texas.
They're all over the world. What am I talking about? The most prolific ones maybe in America, but they're genuinely just all across.
True. Yeah,
But this is obviously, one of the most famous.
One of the most famous, yes.
Definitely.
Yep. Heaven's Gate. A little bit of a backstory about the people who were involved. Marshall Applewhite was born in Texas in 1931. His father was a minister that supposedly combined aliens into Christian theology. So you can kind of see where he got his love for, crazy shit from. Marshall served in the U.S. Army. After finishing, he went back to school at Austin College. He then taught music at the University of Alabama. He moved back to Houston, Texas, where he continued to teach music and became the chair of the music department at the University of St. Thomas. That didn't last long, though, as he was allegedly fired due to having a sexual relationship with one of his male students, which back then was a little racy.
Free love.
Marshall's dad passed away in the early 1970s, which sent him into a bit of a depressive state. He was very close with his dad and didn't take the death of his father well. At some point in the future, Marshall stayed in a psychiatric hospital for a period of time, and while staying there, he met a woman named Bonnie Nettles. I say that he stayed at the psychiatric hospital. Different reports say that he was visiting a friend, so I'm not sure which one it was, but I believe that he was staying there.
I think he would tell other people he was just visiting a friend, right?
Because in other reports, he sort of like spoke in like poet, like, theatrical.
Yeah.
Sort of like he had a flair for the,
his form of his charisma that you need to have as a cult leader.
Exactly. He had a flair for the dramatic and everything. So Bonnie Nettles was born in 1927, so she's 4 years older than Marshall. Also from Houston. She was born into a Baptist family, so still religious, still in the Christian sort of sect, but different. She became a registered nurse and married a successful businessman named Joseph Segal Nettles in 1949. So obviously her last name wasn't Nettles. She married the guy and then, During their marriage, they had 4 children together, and until 1972, their marriage seemed to be going well. According to the New York Times, their marriage started to fall apart when Bonnie said she believed that a 19th century monk named Brother Francis frequently spoke with her and gave her instructions on what to do in life. This was made worse when, instead of hosting book clubs in her home like normal housewives or women of that time, she often conducted seances with mediums. I mean,
kind of like that.
It's so much more fun, right?
Right? I mean, I like books. Don't get me wrong.
Books and seances? A little book club
Right?
with
Oh my God.
a seance under the
And just
cover of a
put
book
a little
club.
bit of alcohol in there. That's my perfect.
That's a fucking
perfect book
party.
club.
Right? But she did this with the hopes of trying to contact other deceased spirits. Other deceased spirits.
Oh. Okay.
Yep. So this was held every Wednesday. I made it important to note that.
Okay.
She began studying astrology, theosophy, and the occult. She went to see multiple fortune tellers who all said she'd meet a mysterious man who was tall, with light hair, and a fair complexion. And that
would have been really hard to find.
Right. In Texas, of all places, where it's nice
really
and sunny.
Really hard to find.
Where it's nice and sunny and the bleach blonde hair from the sun. So she was told by these fortune tellers that she needed to go with this person when she found him.
Just go with him.
Just go with him.
Destiny.
While working as a nurse at the same psychiatric hospital Marshall Applewhite was in, she felt a connection. She noticed he was tall, had light hair, and a fair complexion.
Well, he'd been in a mental institution, so yeah.
Triple threat. She believed him to be the man she was told to look out for.
It's a weird take on like the Nightingale syndrome, isn't it?
She did an astrological reading for Marshall, and while doing so, found that their stars were aligned.
Oh, yay!
Which meant that they were meant for each other. They both felt like they'd met for a reason. While Marshall was still in the psychiatric hospital, their relationship grew, and though she was still married, the stars were telling them that they were meant to be together.
Oh, she was married.
Bunny ears. Yeah, she hadn't left this guy at this point.
Right.
They left.
I don't know why I thought she had.
I don't think she actually divorced him.
Like, because if you're going to numerous fortune tellers, and I feel to actually ask about who your true love is, maybe because she felt unhappy in her marriage or something, I don't know. Yeah, just like,
I don't know. Maybe she fancied a little...
Like she wanted to be a homewrecker.
Thing on the side. Yeah, right? They left the hospital together on New Year's Day, 1973. I think he voluntarily put himself in.
Oh, so he could...
So he just checked out any time, and she was working there, so she could just, oh, okay, shift's over, and then never came back. Bonnie left her 3 younger children behind with their father, while Terry, the oldest child, who was 20 and skeptical of her mother's plans, was left to fend for herself. For some reason, Bonnie and Marshall decided to change their names to Bo and Peep, respectively. They then road-tripped across the US for 6 months. While traveling, they discussed with each other their beliefs, what they thought the meaning of life was.
I mean, again, road tripping, having those deep and meaningful conversations actually does sound pretty cool.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine talking about what you think the meaning of life is for 6 months, though. I think that topic would get a little bit boring. Right? You probably talk about it for like 8 hours maximum, and then be like, okay, so what should we talk about now? 6 months? Like, what the fuck? They decided to spread their message to teach the gospel according to Bo Peep. That's not what they called it. I just came up with that. In 1975, they gave a presentation about their beliefs in Oregon. Not that they had beliefs in Oregon. They were in Oregon.
Yeah.
Just to clarify. They gave out flyers that contained a mixture of conspiracy theories and science fiction. Basically a recruitment form. On the top of this flyer, it just said, UFO, in big letters. It had 2 paragraphs about human individual metamorphosis, which was what they called Heaven's Gate at the time. It's the original title. The original
Heaven's
name.
Gate is catchier. I think that was a good name change.
But human individual metamorphosis, they called it HIM for short.
Ah.
Yes, it was all about the grand plan.
It's so gendered.
I know, but I mean, back then everything was gendered, right?
Everything was gendered.
An actual quote from the flyer says, 2 individuals say they were sent from the level above human and will return to that level in a spaceship within the next few months. That didn't happen. They traveled the country giving this presentation to anyone who listened. The message they were sending was that if you joined, you would be saved by a UFO that would take you away. You'd be elevated to a new world and better life.
What I'm imagining is 2 hippies trying to do like a sales meeting.
Right.
And they've got the posters, but it's all like trumped, kind of penned, marked all over it.
Colored with crayon. And
they've got like a little stick that's got a UFO to demonstrate
it's just
how it'll go.
It's just a fishing rod. It's just a fishing rod with like a little like...
little army men below to demonstrate what they'll be...
Barrel
it goes up to the UFO.
Just a barrel of monkeys hooked up to each other, just... Wee. That should be the t-shirt.
Oh, we have so much respect for them.
Okay.
Okay.
They refer to this as the evolutionary level above human, or Teller.
Teller.
Bo and Peep created Heaven's Gate together as equals. They decided that Bo was to be the sage, and Marshall was the speaker. Essentially the brains and the mouth, respectively. They convinced people to leave their homes, give up their belongings, and travel with them around the country for over 20 years. So much for a few months, right?
Mm-hmm.
The members had no homes, living in extreme poverty. So
they went for the kind of opposite side of things.
Yeah. They made these sacrifices because they truly believed what they were taught, that aliens would come back to the planet and take them away to a better place. According to some members, Heaven's Gate was attractive to them due to its blend of asceticism, mysticism, science fiction, and Christian thinking. Yep, they all blend well, which the members related to, though. An example of their wacky beliefs is that Mary, Jesus' mum,
mm-hmm. Yep.
Was actually impregnated by being taken up into a spacecraft.
God is an alien. God is an alien.
That's where she got pregnant. It was still a higher being, just not God. It was an alien.
Just a literal higher being.
It was more believable to them than a plain virgin birth.
My God. I feel bad because this is brainwashing, and
it's like brainwashing.
Anyone can be brainwashed. So there is obviously, like, these were normal people, but how do you believe that?
An early recruit named Michael Conyers stated it was technical, it had physicality to it. Okay. But to become a member of Heaven's Gate, you had to abandon your family.
I know that there's such a sad ending to happen.
I know.
We've got to stop laughing.
But the road there is just so funny. So to become a member of Heaven's Gate, you had to abandon your family.
Okay. Yep, there it is.
Yep, there it is. Right? You had to give all of your money to Bo and Peep, and you had to cleanse your bodies of the impure influence of fast food and impure sexual thoughts.
Oh, couldn't.
So no KFC.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, you're a vegetarian, you're fine. No sushi.
I feel like sushi's a healthy thing and not a fast food.
Okay, but do you want to know how they cleansed?
Okay.
All right. So you would also be made to drink nothing but a drink that was a mixture of lemonade, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup for 3 months.
Okay, so way back before we even met, I did I forgot what it's called, but like the lemon detox diet.
Yeah, I've done that, yeah.
Yeah, which had the maple syrup, the cayenne pepper, And the lemon, not lemonade, but lemon.
Yeah.
So I was technically on their diet. It's stupid. Don't do it.
Yeah, I did that too. Yeah. It wasn't for 3 months.
It tastes like no.
Yeah, no.
Freak no. It was just to detox my body before I went onto another diet that also didn't work.
Yeah.
Diets don't work, people.
No.
But I can't believe it. I'm actually brainwashed. See?
You were preparing for Heaven's Gate.
I was preparing for the god UFO to come down.
But if you didn't complete the cleanse, you couldn't join Heaven's Gate. So you didn't do it for 3 months, so you couldn't join.
I know.
Sorry to say.
No, I just did it for 2 weeks, yeah.
Well, you were 10 weeks out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't see how you could.
I don't know.
Like, and not just because of the lack of poop and stuff.
Well, I mean, it's not like you had the money to buy other stuff anyway, because you gave it all away.
Right, yeah.
So it was that or nothing, really.
And it is supposed to have everything you need.
Yep.
I remember in the booklet for it, like this really... Some diets are like colds. It said someone was on it for 6 months without any adverse reactions.
Sure. Okay. They didn't, clog up their arteries with the amount of maple syrup they were drinking.
Right, but like the maple syrup.
Was it maple syrup or honey?
It's like total cult. So it's not maple syrup. It's like high grade maple syrup. So not just the sugared stuff you put on pancakes. No. It was like from deep within the maple tree.
So it's
like
pure
higher
Canadian
grade.
maple.
Yeah, which meant it had more complex like nutrients and shit.
Is that why? Wait, how long ago was this?
This is my early 20s, like early.
I was going to say, because we've got like 4 different types of maple syrup in the cupboard.
No, none of them are pure enough. It's like 3 different grades. So the kind of that's used as like topping is just the
right. Okay.
A or C. I think C.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
It's been a while. It's been a while since I was in the diet cult, okay?
Okay. So we can't laugh anymore because this is where it gets a little bit serious.
Okay. Serious face.
Serious face. Members believed suicide was wrong, but their definition of the word was flexible.
Oh, shit. Yep.
Their beliefs
in like a Jonestown kind of way?
Next question.
Okay.
Their beliefs operated on a ticking clock. Members believed if they stayed too long on Earth, they'd face recycling. What they deemed was the destruction of Earth as the planet was wiped clean.
Oh, so they're not green people at all?
No.
No, recycling bad.
No. Although I would imagine not eating fast food would have reduced their carbon footprint.
That is very true.
So,
and like the lemon detox for 3 months, that's no eating meat, milk, all that kind of stuff. You're actually, you're being quite green.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Not condoning what they did.
Not at all.
But
just trying to find some silver lining.
Yep. Bo and Peep believed it wouldn't come to that, though, and they tried to instill the same beliefs to their followers. They believed the spaceship run by Taylor beings would take them to safety long before the apocalypse happened.
Phew.
Right? Oh, lifesavers.
Right? Bo and Peep.
A spanner was thrown in the works, though, when Bo was diagnosed with cancer.
Yep, gets to us all. Does not discriminate.
Nope. Doesn't matter if you're all powerful.
Nope.
She refused to believe the doctors, though, believing she would ascend long before then. She even had an eye removed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it good to have that belief so you don't need to kind of face that kind of your own death, your own...
I don't know. Because it's not not believing them, it's denial. It's like flat out denial.
Yeah.
And I think that's not healthy.
No.
So, I don't know. But she believed she would ascend before then, as I said. And obviously she didn't because
she died of cancer, didn't she?
She died of cancer,
yeah.
Yep. Her death was a severe emotional and philosophical blow to Peep.
Well, that was the love of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
they started a cult together,
his
hon.
co-con person.
Co-con.
Co-con.
So you think they were con artists instead of actually believing this stuff?
I think they actually believed it.
I think they believed this stuff.
They definitely believed it. I mean, they went on a road trip for 6 months. They could have either been pitching their, working on their sales pitch.
It could have been 6 months of conspiring.
It could have been working, 6 months of working on their sales pitch, or they could have genuinely been, having
asking
deep and
those
meaningful...
deep questions, and they feel like they got the answers, and we're trying to spread the word.
Yeah. But it wasn't just the fact that she died. Like, it wasn't just the fact that she was dead that was...
She didn't ascend.
It was,
Yeah.
the philosophical side of it was the bigger blow.
She just died, yep.
Bo's physical death had potential to cause members to question their teachings.
Ah, so yeah.
That's what he... Yeah, so he was... That's why...
Heartbroken,
that's why
but
part
also...
of me thinks it was almost a con.
Right.
But yeah. So Peep decided to focus more on the vessel aspect of his teachings.
Mm-hmm.
Shifting his messages slightly, he told his followers that their current bodies were simple vessels and could be abandoned at any time, hence the suicide thing.
Yep.
He told them that Bo had simply left her body and returned to her home among the Taylor beings. He said she'd continue to help them from afar, and he hadn't left with her because he still had work to do here on Earth.
Fair enough.
It was a small white lie, but it ended up having terrible consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Heaven's Gate members used money the group had made from an array of online enterprises to rent a mansion in a gated community just outside of San Diego. So they did start making money, but from less than savory website stuff. Peep found out about the comet Hale-Bopp, and I could be butchering it, but I don't care.
That's what we do here. You want pronunciation, good pronunciation, you go elsewhere.
Look at a thesaurus, read a dictionary.
Google for that shit. Which is what we could do.
we could. The source of the comet, where he found out about it is unknown, but it was potentially from a popular coast-to-coast AM radio host, Art Bell, who was a conspiracy theorist that believed a UFO was trailing behind the comet.
Oh, okay, yep.
Peep saw this as a sign.
Hiding there.
Yep.
Camouflaged.
Using its, what's the trail that the little tail on the comets that they have?
Do they have a name for that?
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called. I'm just going to call it. It's a tail.
It's the tail, yep.
The tail of the comet, using it to hide. Peep saw this as a sign. He recorded himself saying, "This is the only way to evacuate this Earth." He believed the supposed UFO that followed behind the passing of Hale-Bopp was the Heaven's Gate members' ticket out of there. It was finally coming to take them to Taylor.
Here's your ticket.
Beginning on March 26, 1997, spanning over 3 days, the 39 members ate a mixture of barbiturates and applesauce, washing it down with vodka. Then, group by group, they tied bags over their heads to ensure they'd suffocate and waited to die. Those later in the lineup of the mass suicide laid the bodies out neatly on the bunks, covering them with purple cloth, then doing the same ritual.
Yeah, they were all wearing the same thing, weren't they?
Yeah.
Down to the shoes.
Yep. Peep was the 37th to go. He left 2 of his followers to prepare his corpse and take their own lives. A former member came back to check on them and found all 39 members laid neatly in their bunks, wearing identical black and white Nike sneakers and matching armbands that read Heaven's Gate Away Team. That's it. Like,
do you think they made it?
No.
Fair enough. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, before all the bullshit, right, for both of these cults, which teachings do you think you're more likely to follow?
Oh, so if I was alive in that era?
Yeah. Do you think, like, Judeo-Christian mixed with Hindu yogic teachings and just a little bit of LSD would come in, or do you think, obviously, aliens?
I think, honestly, I think I would have been the former member that came back and found 39 people dead. Because I think I would have, judging from my life now, I grew up in a religion, left the church, and I've, sort of dipped my toes back in and out here and there. So I feel like I would have probably been more. I feel like I don't want to say connected, but I feel more like I would have chosen Heaven's Gate because of the fact it was sci-fi. It was it had more things like it was said things that appeal to me more. So I think Heaven's Gate probably would have been the one that I would have gone for. Yeah, but I would have gotten out. I think I would have had the sense eventually, and in enough time to get. Because I mean, especially if I was one of the first people to join, after he would have been like, when they said in a few months, and then 20 years later, it still hasn't happened.
Yeah. For a lot of these cults, when I look at what the original teachings were, I was like, oh yeah, I can identify with wanting that kind of healing or that kind of like knowledge of the universe. I can see wanting to be a part of that. Like the beginning of Jonestown, his teachings before he even, he escaped to Mexico and everything. I'm like, oh wow, that he was a qualitist, and he spoke up against racial inequality, and wow, this guy's great. And the idea of the 60s and bringing in, when after the Beatles went to India and they brought that kind of philosophy to the rest of the world, definitely including Australia, I like that we actually were open to it, and we found different ways we could actually work it into our own faith, not just we have to bury everything else, and
exactly
a mixture of our cultures, a mixture of our ideologies is beautiful. I do want there to be something out there. So the idea that could answer also a few of the meaning of life questions also appeals to me. Like, I get the original, but I think like you, I would hope the brainwashing wouldn't be too severe and I'd get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Because, like you said, like, in an ideal world, like, the teachings that they have, like, it sounds great. I think...
Minus the LSDs and suicide packs. Yep.
Because from...
and child torture. Do you ever see, I don't think, no offense, I don't think either of us could ever be charismatic enough to be a cult leader.
Oh, fuck no.
But if we were to be, what would be your teaching? Like, your message to the world? Well, to your cult members.
Honestly, I've never thought about it, so I couldn't give you an answer, like, off the top of my head. Yeah.
If I were to, because most of them, they're in like compounds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The kids were moved around, but usually were in K-Lama, so one space. I feel like if I was to do that and ask other people to do that, it would be a message of people suck.
Yeah.
Let's just a few of us who seem to be able to get along relatively well get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Actually, I think now that you mention it...
And that is me as a cult leader.
I think now that you mention it, given my obsession with doomsday prepping...
Oh, God, yeah.
It would be something related to doom. I don't know what it would be.
Like, so a community of doomsday preppers out in the outback.
It wouldn't be so much a cult as it would be a group of trusted people that has got your back in the event of some sort of
community living. I'm actually quite in for. I mean, small group.
Oh yeah,
people suck.
Very small group. Yeah, like small
a family.
Doesn't have to be a blood family. Just a family of people. People that have got your back.
Do you have any idea what you'd call it? I have no idea what I'd call it.
I don't know if
Fuck the world. Fuck people.
It would probably just be called
Fuck the people.
The Compound.
The Compound. That does sound very culty.
It does, yeah.
I've sworn a lot, so I'm so sorry, Phoebe, and I'm so sorry, Mum.
I'm not. But like pretending that I know nothing about cults, I think there's really only, as with everything, well, as with a lot of things, two sides of the coin. If you know nothing about cults and then you suddenly stumble upon one, you either think it's utter bollocks, all cults are stupid, there's no way that anyone would, you'd have to be a complete idiot to fall for it, or holy fuck, this is the best thing that I've ever heard. Where do I sign up? Right? And
I think it's also a matter of that meaning of life, feeling lost.
Yeah.
That's why we search for a lot of different meanings in our life. If you find that in a cult, then that is going to have a huge, huge impact on you. And yeah, you're going to feel like you can't escape that because you feel found when you were lost.
And I think that's why a lot of people join cults and they join any sort of organization, really, like any kind of community. Like people join gyms because they don't like the way that they are. So they think, oh, this is, a way of life. This is how I'm going to do it. People join churches,
The main thing is don't become an extremist about it.
Yes. Make sure that what you join.
If you have philosophies you want to share with others, that is fantastic. Do that. But don't hide everyone away in a cult and tell people to kill themselves.
Yeah. Or kill others. But I think, this is a pretty exciting episode. Again, really sorry that it's late. We've
very sorry.
Been swamped with so much other stuff that we've had to deal with. But we're hoping to get the ball rolling. We'll have 2 episodes out this week just to make up for lost time. And then,
how much more can this year throw at us?
Right. Don't tempt fate. But we'll have another episode. So this episode will go up
ASAP
when it goes up, and then there'll be another one straight afterwards the next day probably.
Yep, on alien species.
Where do we want to tell them what we're talking about, or do we want to?
Yeah, so I am talking about reptilians.
Those ones that live under our feet. And I
Illuminati.
am talking about the really gorgeous, beautiful Nordic race that got their name because they bear a resemblance to the Scandinavians. Yeah. That's all we got today. But we will be back sooner than normal with another episode. So until then,
please vote on our social medias. Who do you think won this episode? Who would be the better cult leader? Let us know that.
Yeah.
Who do you think, Summer or Sam, is the better cult leader?
Or do you think we've got the charisma?
Oh, God, we don't. We just don't, though.
Do you think we've got the charisma and the chutzpah to have a cult?
We have the chutzpah
together. We've got
the
chutzpah.
Well, I do. I definitely do.
Do you think we've got the social media following to join a cult?
We will one day.
If not,
you
tell people.
All cults start small. We can be a bigger cult if we want to.
I mean, if you think about it, we've got over 1,000 followers on Instagram. That's more followers than either of our cults had. So we're already sitting pretty. But we'll see you in the next episode, guys. Until then, keep those campfires burning.